The president, as he said, he will not apologize for shooting down that Chinese spy balloon, and he will shoot down any balloon that he sees is a threat. With that said, he also says he hopes to speak with the Chinese president soon, President Xi. So what about the subsequent high-altitude objects that have been shot down across North America? We still don't know exactly what those were either. For more, let's begin ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill, also ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy. But we are going to go ahead and start with Martha Raddatz, our chief global affairs correspondent. So, Martha, we still have a lot of questions. I mean, the president obviously was under a lot of pressure to come forward and make remarks to the country about these other objects in addition to the shooting down of the Chinese balloon. But we still don't know exactly what those other balloons or objects were, and that he's just basically going to make changes going forward. But we still didn't get exactly what we want to know.
It's a tough call here. We have so many questions about this, but we did learn more about those three objects than we had before. As you know, we've been reporting that they were likely weather balloons, harmless and benign. The president basically said most balloons tied to private companies, recreation or research institutions studying weather or conducting other scientific research. Also, Kira, I'm not sure they're ever going to find these to tell exactly what they were or where they came from, but the administration clearly already making the determination without even finding them that they were benign and likely just weather, recreation or research balloons. I think the hardest part here now for this administration, for the Department of Defense, for NORAD, is recalibrating what kind of objects they look for. The administration clearly was on the lookout after the Chinese spy balloon to see what else was going on in the skies, so their radar literally was up, and they found these three objects, one in Canada, two over the United States, obviously. But they have to figure out a way where they can catch those Chinese spy balloons that do pose a threat because they're surveilling the U.S., or a harmless weather balloon. There are about 184 weather balloons launched every single day. They only last a couple of hours up in the air, but they can go to very high altitudes in the United States alone and thousands worldwide. Now, he has tasked his Secretary of State to look into this for common global norms. That's not going to be easy because there are so many objects up in the sky. Obviously, you don't want them in the way of civil aviation, but I can't remember a time when that has been a real issue worldwide, a weather balloon. So this is something that is very complicated, and we remain with many, many, many questions, Kira.
Martha, point well made. You know, commercial pilots, military pilots have said to you, have said to many of us that they don't see these weather balloons as a threat. And so by narrowing these radars clearly, what will that do with regard to vulnerable airspace, if indeed we really are that vulnerable at this point? Mary Bruce at the White House now. Mary Bruce, it was interesting. The president said he wasn't apologizing for shooting down the Chinese balloon, that he would do it again if he felt he needed to do so, and also that he hopes to talk with the Chinese president soon. What did you read between the lines of all of that?
He's sending a very clear message to China. Look, this White House has insisted since this happened that it hasn't necessarily impacted U.S.-China relations, but there's no question it certainly has ratcheted up tensions, and they were already rising. You heard the president saying that he is going to be talking to President Xi at some point soon. And again, Biden reiterating that when it comes to China, he says they are about competition, not conflict. So the U.S. is in a position here where they don't want to ratchet things up, certainly, but they also, you know, don't want to let China just simply get away with this, and certainly shooting down their balloon in and of itself sends a pretty strong signal as well. The question is how to prevent it from continuing to happen, Kira.
All right, Mary Bruce, thanks so much. Let's bring in our Mick Mulroy, national security and defense expert, also our Jay O'Brien, who covers all things Capitol Hill for us. So, Mick, you know, you've been talking with us since the very beginning and giving your insights and your thoughts about the shooting down of the Chinese balloon and then these other objects. Do you feel that we got the answers to the questions that we have been asking for so many days now, since the initial balloon was shot down, and also these other objects. It seems a bit confusing as to what's a threat, what's not a threat, and if the U.S. is now narrowing their radars, is that worth the time and effort?
So, Kara, I'd first start off saying how important it is to allow the intelligence community to do their assessment and not to jump to conclusions. The U.S.-China relationship is at a low. We don't need to do anything else to bring it down any further. And there's a lot more to talk to them about with the actual surveillance balloon we shot down. On this, I think it was, just like you said, it was trying to adjust the radar apertures so that we can see more things that travel at a slower speed than we ever did before. And now we're just going to have to keep adjusting and potentially training pilots that can get up there and get eyes on these objects to determine whether it is an actual threat or what it appears that these last three objects were weather balloons, which to my knowledge, as you said and Martha said, are not actually aviation threats. So it's going to be an adjustment. I don't think we have the answers, obviously, of what these were. But if they were weather balloons, then we're just going to have to retrain our pilots to really understand what is a threat and what they need to shoot at, because what they're shooting at them is about a $400,000 Sidewinder missile. And that we don't want to keep doing for obvious reasons.
Right. Jay, how are lawmakers responding to the president's comments?
Well, they're unlikely to calm a lot of the lawmakers here on Capitol Hill, particularly Republicans. We've heard criticism from Republicans that they wanted more transparency out of the administration, that they wanted the administration to come forward and tell the American people what they know. But you just heard the president say they can't say with certitude what these so-called objects were. He said they were likely benign, that they were not for surveillance in the administration's assessment, but nonetheless, they don't know what they were. But it's also worth pointing out here in all of this that these remarks from the president were made after some pressure even from members of his own party. Senator Richard Blumenthal, perhaps the most noteworthy, told us just a few days ago that he wanted the president or some other senior administration official to come forward and give the American people the facts, the kind of briefing, in a sense, that senators here on Capitol Hill got on these objects and on that Chinese spy balloon earlier this week. So this is the White House's attempt to do that, to show the American people the fulsome picture of what's going on. But again, they can't say with certitude what those three additional objects were. They also commented, by the way, on the overall U.S.-China relationship. The president saying, as he often says, that we seek competition, not conflict with China, relating, of course, to that Chinese spy balloon that was shot down that began all of this. But that idea of competition over conflict, that is going to come to head here on Capitol Hill, where there are Republicans, even some Democrats, who have bipartisan agreement in this new Congress that they want to look for ways to confront China through the legislative process. So we'll see how that plays out over the next few months.
Still so many questions. Mick Mulroy, Jay O'Brien, thank you both so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.